this idea that a coach can help you with some of those, revealing some of those mind shifts, intrinsic things, as well as skills that we may not realize we have, was just sort of magical.
Welcome to the Small Business Breakthrough Series, where each week we are interviewing guests that support the small business community. They're small businesses themselves. They've either been in small business or they are running one right now, and they are support the small business community. And today we have brought on our first. We're breaking the glass on this one. It is Dana Zellers, and she's an executive coach. And why do we bring an executive coach on? Because executive coaching is taking its whole new shift into a new element of time. And I used an executive coach as a small business owner, not because I was a C-suite employee, but because I was looking for that advanced coaching that can help. And we're going to have a great conversation today. Welcome to the show, Dana.
Thank you so much for having me. And I love that you've experienced some coaching of your own, so you have some insights into how that really works.
Yes, absolutely. As I'm a coach myself and you're a coach, you should not hire a coach that's not being coached, or at least hasn't been through coaching. So give us a quick intro into what your business is and the problems that you're solving for your clients.
Yeah. So as an executive coach, my focus really is on making those professionals who want to be successful, but they tend to be sort of going above and beyond to feel like they need to be there for their success. And they tend to be ignoring their personal life, their health, their friendship. And so oftentimes people come to me a little bit mid-career, maybe transitioning, looking at what does my life look like now until retirement, and how can I keep this up? Because they're usually passionate and smart and engaged, and they want to keep doing their professional careers, but they want to figure out how to make that balance a little bit more sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. That is such a key point inside of it. Putting in 80 hours a week just to be able to get to the next level is not how you play the game these days. It will end in disaster, whether it's your family, your job, or both. So we want to be careful around those sides of things. What has inspired you to get into executive coaching, and what are some of the proudest moments that you've had since you started that journey?
Yeah, so I come from a pretty traditional corporate environment. I started in traditional advertising, moved into web development here in San Francisco. We do tech. And I found that I was, like many of my peers, kind of burning myself out. And I was feeling like that had to be the way that it was. And as a smart person, not seeing any other options, I really started wondering if that was in fact the case. So I started learning more and more about coaching and went through a certification program in about 2016, and really was just warmed to the idea that a coach can help you with some of those, revealing some of those mind shifts, intrinsic things, as well as skills that we may not realize we have, was just sort of magical. And so I was really delighted to then move from that environment where I was one of the doers who was burning myself out to one of the people who could get out there and start showing how some of those things that we didn't know were possible, we actually had more control than we thought we had.
That is great advice, and great to hear that you came from the spot. They say we're always set up to help those that we once were, right?
Yeah.
The challenges that we once were, or the spots where we were in our darkest days.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
so you've been doing this since 2016. You got certified. Talk to me a little bit about that journey, because even the small business owners that are listening out there today, maybe they're newer, maybe they've only been into it a couple of years. You had to grow and build a business. How have you overcome those challenges, and what has been a key to your success today?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that was very fortunate, I was doing consulting before I was doing the coaching. So I really had been my own business for about 20 or 25 years, but definitely not to the same spectrum as this shift where I really was hanging out my own shingle and really kind of trying to do that. So I was very fortunate that I was able to do some consulting while I was trying to do some of those business basics of building. So I was able to do some coaching, but really I was a little bit bowled over by all of the things that I felt like I needed to have in place in order to serve clients and be a business. So I was able to start doing those things while I was doing it. I did reach a point where I felt like if I wanted to serve my clients, if I wanted to spend the energy to get more clients, I needed to make that transition. And I think for me, the biggest thing that I eventually leaned into that helped me a lot was getting support. So having a coach, having somebody help me with my marketing, looking to people for systems, really tapping into not only experts that I paid and hired to do that, but also my community. I think a lot of times as business owners, we start as kind of solopreneurs and we're in a position where we feel really isolated. And so knowing that there are ways to tap into other people in our business network where they can maybe point us to a resource or a methodology, or just be there to kind of understand and show compassion. Things like you have this opportunity to share stories from other business owners so that we feel not so alone and can actually get some of those tips to move forward can be incredibly beneficial.
That is very, very, very powerful. The sense of community and that ability to reach out. If you're not in a community now, look at joining a community and being involved, because that's where you can reach out when you're having these struggling times. If you've ever opened your laptop ready to grow your business and 2 hours later closed it, realizing you've gotten nothing done, but you've researched office chairs, you've ordered lunch, and you've planned out the next 3 dinners, all the things that you wouldn't typically do to work on your business. Yeah, I've done that too. I'm Jason Pond. I'm the host of the Small Business Breakthrough Podcast, and I want you to achieve your breakthrough. But we do that through the community I built. I built the Momentum Community. The Momentum Community is a place where we meet every week. We talk about your goals, where you want to get with your business, and then we track them. And we use the Momentum dashboard to do that. We make sure you're moving forward every week, and it's accountability like you've never seen in a community forum. I want you to be part of that community. If you want to learn more about it, check out the link in the description below and enjoy the rest of the episode. So how do you differentiate yourself in a busy executive coaching market where there are just, everybody's into coaching, it seems like, especially those of us that are in coaching, we're surrounded by it. And that's a little bit of the kettle calling the pot black or whatever, but what differentiates yourself from how you approach the executive coaching environment?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that differentiate me. So one is I really look at the whole person. So some people come in and they're like, I want to increase my sales, I want to increase my efficiency, all of those things. But what really tends for me and my clients to be the most successful is looking at the whole person. Why are they doing what they're doing? What is important to them? How do they create sort of that balance so that they are focusing on the things that really mean the most and will create the kind of life that they want to have? The other piece that I think differentiates me is that it is a combination of coaching. It's a combination of mentoring, really kind of sharing some of the experience that I've had. And I've really picked some areas where I think that are some gaps in a lot of people's experience. And I've gotten some additional certifications and training. So within my framework, we spend a lot of time on clarity, what's important. We spend a good amount of time on productivity, not in doing more, but in figuring out how to be most effective with our time. And then the third piece of the framework that I work with people on is relationships. Because as much as we can do things on our own, we rarely are always on our own. And so learning how to interact and engage best with other people tends to be one of the pieces that can bring about success.
That is very, very, very powerful. We talked about how you started doing coaching in 2016. So it's been 8 years. We have had so many things change in the world of technology in the last 8 years, and it's just continuing to go crazy, especially in terms of AI and various different tools that are out there. What would you say is the things that are coming in the next 5 to 10 years as you start to look ahead? How are you approaching coaching and styling changes that you may go through as the years progress?
Yeah, no, it's so true. I think a lot of people are paying attention to AI because it is kind of the thing that is happening right now, and because how it's going to extend is so unknown. I think that starting to leverage technology in ways that can, again, save us that time and that energy in areas that, we don't have to be doing everything ourselves, learning how it's going to assist us. I think that flexibility and that curiosity and that eagerness to try new technologies and try new things is going to continue to be really important. The other piece that I think is really interesting is I am starting to see things like how to use AI for coaching, and getting some of those automated responses. And so, with that becoming something that is a new threshold, I think it's leaning even more into why do people need that customized interaction? Why do people need a human on the other side of, even if it's a computer, to really tap into some of those mind shifts and awarenesses, as well as not only learning the skills, but how are we integrating the skills? Why is that not working for us? What is it that we need to kind of move that into the next direction? So I think it's really the complement of how we work with technology and continue to evolve that's going to be such the sweet spot.
That is very, very, very good to focus on and to hear about just playing with those different elements, using them as tools in the toolbox.
Yeah.
Okay, it has been a great interview so far. We've been learning a lot about your business and how you leverage different tools and resources and how you're helping people become better and not burned out. We ready to jump into a little bit of a lightning round?
All right, let's do it.
Okay. They're not too hard of questions, especially the first ones. Really, it's like coffee or tea.
Um, Decaf coffee.
Decaf coffee. Okay, that we got another first on here. Okay, cats or dogs?
Dogs.
If you could grab only one weapon or item during a zombie apocalypse, what would it be?
Oh, this is a good one. I feel like I would want like a sword, something that I could continue to use again and again.
Okay. Favorite quote or phrase that you think about often?
It's funny. It's so simple, but it's often just do it.
There you go. There's so much truth to that phrase, and we both grew up through that era of it. So definitely. Favorite movie or streaming series that you love?
I will always be a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan.
Very good. Okay, very good. One book that has influenced your life the most?
Wicked, the book, and appreciate the musical and ready for the movie.
Okay. I unfortunately have not gotten to we're a musical family and I have yet to actually get to see the musical, so I'm excited for the movie.
Okay, put that on your list.
It's there for sure. How about the biggest obstacle that you've overcome and one lesson that you've learned from it?
Yeah, I think this is a little bit meta, but the biggest obstacle I overcame was getting out of my own way. So instead of continuing to do what I was doing again and again, more and more, it was stepping out of what seemed like the next step and trying something different. I think that I learned, again, we are our best advocates and our worst enemies. And sometimes what got you here just won't get you there. And so it's important to try new things.
That is very, very powerful. I'm a big proponent of stepping outside your comfort zone. At
Yeah.
least try to pick one big thing every year to do that. And it's definitely served me well. So that's a very powerful statement. Uh, Dana, what is the best way that our listeners can collaborate with you if they want to work with you as an executive coach?
Yeah. So the best way to find out more information about me is at my website, which is easy peasy. It is danazellers.com. I can also be found on Instagram and LinkedIn at Dana_Zellers, Instagram, and D Zellers, LinkedIn.
And there you go. We have all that information in the show notes or the description if you are watching this on YouTube. And it has been such a pleasure, Dana, to have you on the show today and getting to learn more about how an executive coach can save you from burnout in your next season or even in your current season of life. Until next time.